For ADHD people, the mythical work-life balance can be difficult to achieve. And there's a lot of different reasons for that. One of which is that we can find it hard to switch off work and move into personal time, whether that's family or anything else that you've got going on in your own life. Why is that? Well, there's an element of task switching in this, and task switching is hard, really hard for our brains. Task switching requires a lot of our executive functions. So, first off, our short term memory. To move from one task to another, you need to unload all of the stuff to do with that first task and reload all of the stuff to do with the second task. And moving to family time is just a different type of task switching. You might be moving from thinking about your customers to thinking about your kids, or thinking about your friends, or thinking about your partner. And that seems like it should be easy, but actually it's really hard. So all of this really tires our executive functions, and you're already tired from a work day. So more executive function is pretty much the opposite of what you will need in that evening. Now, people will often say, well, why don't you just leave work at work? Okay, that's great. How? Because my emotional system's often on high alert. I'm thinking about, oh, I forgot to go and do that for that customer, and actually that person might not be happy, and oh, I've just remembered that I need to go and do this next week. Our brains don't switch off. They don't find it easy to switch off. Living in a neurotypical world means that forgetting is uncomfortable for us, really uncomfortable, and feels emotionally very unsafe. So just leaving work at work isn't an easy option for us. We can't just say, oh, that'll be fine, I'll deal with it tomorrow, because you'll still be thinking about it all night. You'll still be wondering whether you've made a mistake. You'll still be remembering all of the stuff that you should have got done, because maybe your brain's calmed down a little bit now into the evening, and you start thinking about all of the things that you were maybe meant to be doing. So the exhaustion level that comes from working a day in your business or in someone else's business is huge. And the amount of effort that it takes to unload all of that is also huge. So how might you be able to leave work at work? If it became more emotionally and psychologically safe to make mistakes and be okay with yourself, to accept your limitations, the areas where you don't quite meet the needs of a neurotypical world. But always remember that they also have their limitations. They don't bring the crazy creativity that you just have immediately, and it is so easy for your brain to do. So giving yourself less of a hard time about that is definitely an important starting point. Now, let's have a think about it from my perspective for a second. I've definitely felt at times physically present with people, but emotionally and mentally absent. There's been times where friends have come round, for example, and we've chatted for a little while, and then I've said, look, can we just put a film on? Because I can't really handle more deep conversation or more planning or more deciding or whatever it is that's happening at that time. The important part to recognize for this is that I gave myself permission to listen to what I needed. It's not just about what the other person needs. That's people pleasing. These days, I don't put other people's needs ahead of mine. If my brain's exhausted, I allow it to be exhausted, and I do something mindless, whether other people are there or not. I protect my energy. So what's happened as I've started to do this? Well, I found myself getting burnt out less. I found it easier to keep going the next day, the day after, when I give myself the time I need to just let go and say to people, I've got nothing to give you at the moment. For neurodiverse brains, we do have these inbuilt limits, and it's perfectly okay that we do. Allow yourself to give what you have, but not to give more than you have. Now, what can we do in work, whether you're working for someone else or whether it's your own business? I tend to recommend that wherever you can, allow your brain to settle down in the last hour of your work. Just slowly tail off into tasks that are easier for your brain to do. So don't expect yourself to do some major planning or make huge decisions or require you to list out 50 different things that were in your memory. They're hard. Instead, just let your brain rest a bit and you'll find it a lot easier to transition to your personal life. Catch you in the next video.